Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. New ancient discoveries are exciting. They happen more frequently in Egypt compared to most other countries, mainly because so much of it is covered with sand, which for me is great because I love the history and legacy of dynastic Egypt. We know that so much of the country is still unexplored, and most of us wonder what amazing treasures are just waiting to be discovered. Will there be another discovery on the scale of King Tutankhamen? What's inside the void of the Great Pyramid? Is there really a Hall of Records under the Sphinx? And where is the body of the heretic king Akhenaten? We know that the Egyptological establishment does look down on alternative researchers, people like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Robert Bauval and Robert Schoch, not to mention the plethora of independent YouTube channels, but actually, just how much interest and tourism has been generated by the work of independent researchers. Since the 1990s, I would imagine a huge amount. The work of the mentioned individuals and so many more, the dozens of YouTube channels and countless books that look into the mystery of ancient Egypt, really is a huge part of the Egyptian tourism industry today. Nobody can deny that their work has led to more people taking interest and taking the trip to this amazing country. But alternative and independent researchers get a bad rap. They are the ones that are meant to be the sensationalists, the people frowned upon by the establishment for sometimes dodgy selective research or sensational claims that people say are simply made to sell books, tours and get views. Well, fair is fair. And yes, sometimes but not always, alternative ideas are a bit out there and unrealistic, including some of my own a number of years ago, I admit that. And we do deserve a level of scrutiny, especially as a number of independent researchers do have a lot of influence on the general public. But when we see an announcement of a new lost golden city, apparently only discovered by chance in 2020, dubbed one of the greatest discoveries since the tomb of Tutankhamen, it never gets the same level of criticism. Like I said, fair is fair. So, in this video, I'll give you the details on the seemingly new discovery that the mainstream media outlets have left out. For a start, nobody seems to know why this lost city is golden. Were the buildings golden? No. Was there a large stash of golden jewellery and precious items discovered? No. Was this city home to royalty? No. So why? Well, in truth, it's a clickbait buzzword. It's marketing. It's the same marketing buzzword that probably made you click on my story on the discovery the other day, or made you read a news story in the national press. It's the sole reason it was included in the official press release. The BBC used the name but didn't explain why it's golden. The Guardian failed to explain it, Sky News were none the wiser, The Independent didn't help, and National Geographic repeated the phrase, the lost golden city, but nobody knows why it's golden. If it's simply to do with the colour of the mud bricks and sand on site, well, it should be called the lost beige city of Luxor. And to be honest, beige is a far better word to describe this overly sensationalised and exaggerated discovery. Don't get me wrong, I find everything I've read about this site extremely interesting, and I'm sure that many of you do as well. I love archaeology. I'm a genuine enthusiast, not just interested in royal mummies and monuments, but I especially enjoy learning about the real people, the social side of history. I would love to be in the field right now, talking to and filming the archaeologists on site, as they discover something unseen for 3,000 years, whatever that thing may be. But because of the media reports, expectations around the world are now extremely high. Only 1/3 of this site has been excavated. We're told there were once palaces at this location. We're told it might reveal secrets like why Akhenaten moved the capital of Egypt to Amarna. We're told it's going to rewrite history. So, will it really? Well, no, I'm afraid not. Without the word golden in the press release, the world's media might have left it on their respective fax machines. Without getting Mr. Hawass, Egypt's poster boy, on site, many of the global media giants might not have bothered. Love him or loathe him, Hawass does generate interest. He is a media focal point, a well-known figure, and a very useful guy to raise the profile of Egypt to the Western world, especially for a post-COVID tourism boost the country is so desperately in need of. The announcement of this discovery was planned, and all because of the Pharaoh's Golden Parade. And there's that word again, golden. A golden parade, and then a golden city, but this time there will be no golden death mask, I assure you. In fact, I bet we won't hear a great deal more about this discovery ever again, unless you buy the future peer-reviewed journal that all the findings appear in. Because this isn't a Tutankhamen type discovery. It hasn't got the glitz and the glamour. It doesn't have the mass appeal they are claiming. It's simply been engineered in such a way to get Egypt back into the media, and I take my hat off to them. I really do. They've done a great job. So why am I so sure? Well, I guess I'm a realist, and I've worked in marketing. I get the concept. I understand it. Egypt needs to sell Egypt. Of course it does. It's why the Ministry of Antiquities became the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, and I do hope they're successful, because Egypt has a history and monuments like no other country in the world. I hear the people of Egypt are amazing as well. The country is captivating, mysterious, beautiful and wonderful. I just get annoyed when I see an over-engineered news story that's designed to excite people over something that's been missold, especially when independent researchers are often belittled and ignored. Back to the lost golden city, and here are the facts of this discovery that nobody is talking about. The fact is, they have known about this site since the 1930s. In 1936, Clement Robichon and Alexandre Varille released a paper in French titled The Temple of the Royal Scribe Amenhotep, son of Hapu, which includes some very interesting words, diagrams and images directly relating to the new discovery announced last week. They describe the excavated ruins of this temple, which shows a number of phases of work and different structures from the 18th dynasty. The authors state that there are industrial structures from the reign of Amenhotep III, with rectangular spaces that would have served as date liars and stores. They found powder inside enclosures from worked granite and sandstone. They found painted jars and stamped mud brick seals of the king. It goes on. Not far from there, they say that the workers of the workshops lived in a neighbourhood of huts, which seem limited by corrugated walls. Does that sound familiar? It's exactly the same as what was discovered last week. There are other workshops from the reign of Amenhotep III also under the temples of Ai and Horemheb. The layout of the enclosures, as seen by their walls, was perpendicular to the Temple of the Colossi. These workshops were located behind Amenhotep's mortuary temple, and, according to the Frenchmen, were arranged according to an overall plan that they say will be revealed by the complete clearance of the site, something they never actually did. The paper continues that behind the royal buildings, the workers' houses stretched out to the foot of the mountain, and just like modern houses, they were hastily constructed and laid out without a precise plan. So, we can see the ruins from the reign of Amenhotep III right here. We can see the corrugated wall and the various structures that are mentioned by the French investigators in the 1930s. They said the ruins continued right up to the mountain, meaning towards the west-northwest, so where exactly is the amazing new lost golden city? It's literally 100 metres to the west-northwest. Usain Bolt could run there in 10 seconds. On Google Earth I rolled back the time to late in 2020 and we can even see the specific site being excavated. It's pretty much the same piece of land. It's part of the exact same workers' village and workshops that were partly excavated in the 1930s. The French authors gave this part of their excavation just 2 paragraphs in their 177-page paper. They didn't call it a lost golden city, but a pretty standard workers' village. These are not golden homes, palaces or rich finds. They are hastily built mud brick structures for workers and their workshops. And that's the truth behind the recent news story. It's interesting to me, and it is a great thing to unearth, but it's not going to rewrite the history of the 18th dynasty. If I can find this information in less than a week, And I do admit I was helped by a friend of the channel, Shlomo Ishtov. I can only assume that experts working on the site today know all of this already. And so I just think it's a shame that they feel they need to hype it up and compare it to the discovery of Tutankhamen. Tutankhamun's name is all over the press release. It really is shoehorned in. Apparently, the experts found the site when looking for King Tut's mortuary temple, instead of just simply checking the 1930s excavation reports. That all seems a bit too convenient. One Egyptologist has said it's the second biggest discovery since Tutankhamen, but in reality we all know there are many more ahead of it. The CNBC reporter that went exclusively around the Lost Golden City ended her report by saying that Dr. Hawass is looking for evidence that King Tutankhamen himself lived here, and I'm sure all of the experts know that this is pretty much impossible. It's a workers' village. No king of Egypt ever lived here. Because of the discovery by Howard Carter, the name Tutankhamen is also a marketing buzzword. It gets attention, and that's the reason he's name dropped into the report. It's called a Lost Golden City, but in reality it's a poor workers' village. Although not fully excavated, we can read the reports of the new part excavated in 2020 and 2021 and compare it to the part excavated in the 1930s, and it's very clearly the same village, just different parts of it. It might give us answers about how they worked stone or stored meat and wine. We might find the tombs of workers or their overseers, and that's all great, but we're not going to be able to answer big questions like why Akhenaten moved his capital to Amarna, as some reports are claiming, and I'm sure they know it. It may be a bigger site, but it's unlikely to be as important as the workers' village of Deir el Medina, 500 or so metres to the north, which housed the workers who dug the Valley of the Kings and was in use from the 18th to 20th dynasties of the New Kingdom. Interestingly, this whole discovery was questioned on Facebook and answered by Egyptologist Victoria Jensen. She was asked if the new site had been excavated before, and then simply reburied. She posted this image to show the two excavation sites in question, and, as she says, they are clearly two distinct locations, with the new site more than 100 metres to the west. She explains the new area was not excavated in the 1930s. All of that is true, but 100 metres is extremely close, and the Frenchmen certainly believe that this site was much larger. So the discovery is not unexpected. She admits that both have similar architecture, both date to Amenhotep III, but remained on the fence to say whether or not the two areas are related. I do understand her position as a professional. Because this site hasn't been fully excavated, any conclusion at this stage is speculation, until we see the hard facts and material finds. But as a YouTuber and amateur historian, I can speculate, because I think we can all see that this is all part of the same site. The French archaeologists of the 1930s believed the village continued right up to the hill, to the west-northwest, and from the finds at both excavation sites, this claim is now confirmed. I'm sure many tombs will be found, some great artefacts as well, some interesting nuggets of social history regarding how the people lived, but what we are looking at is a workers' village, and Egyptologists have known it's been under this specific patch of sand for more than 80 years. And I'm not trying to be negative, I get the hype. I understand why it's been presented in such a way, as something spectacular, but it's really not what it's been made out to be. But like I say, I get it. If Egypt really wants to get tourists back to Egypt, they don't need to exaggerate their own history in excavations. There are so many other things they could do. They could put a small endoscopic camera into the two voids of the Great Pyramid, as revealed by the Scan Pyramids project. They could put a camera through the notch on the corner of the Great Pyramid and see if there is an internal ramp as Jean-Pierre Houdin suspects. They could actually release the video footage of the Pyramid Rover robot as it went up the Queen's Chamber northern shaft. I would happily publish it on this channel. They could release the full geological report on the boreholes that were taken from the Sphinx enclosure. Again, things we never see but would be spoken about. Is there a chamber or just a natural void beneath? And that really is my point. There are so many things that could be done that don't rely on golden buzzwords and speculation, and it would get the world's full attention and keep it. Even if the Scan Pyramid's void is empty, how many people around the world would watch a robotic endoscopic camera look inside live for the first time? I would guess millions and millions. Find something incredible and it's global front page news. Find nothing at all, and it will still appear in every newspaper in the world, and it will appear on every popular YouTube channel. Egyptian history doesn't need to be sensationalised to be sensational. It doesn't need a somewhat distasteful parade of the golden pharaohs, or an over-exaggerated lost golden city, that wasn't really lost and isn't even golden. In fact, it isn't even a city. It just needs to shout about what it has, to remind the world why it's amazing, and to explore the genuine mysteries, the answers to which everyone in the world is waiting for. I should add, I'm also available as a marketing consultant if anyone in Egypt is watching. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.